Yo, what's going on, people, and welcome back to Mandem Football. I am so glad you guys are here. It's been an absolute pleasure, and happy Sunday to all you guys here. Hold on one second. Yes, happy Sunday to you all. Hopefully you guys watched the big game that was on today. As a matter of fact, there were multiple big games today. Manchester United with a big win with Ruben Amorim, 4-0 today. Great victory, I must say. Marcus Rashford with the brace, looking like his old self again. Chelsea with a big win against Aston Villa. That is also very shocking to hear. And Tottenham, of course, 1-1. Man, I mean, you might as well just give a sigh for Tottenham, because I don't understand this team sometimes. They're so good at times, but then they could be so poor all of a sudden. And the big one today, Liverpool 2, Manchester City 0. Let's dive right into it. First things first, great game. Great game. Definitely what many people suspected would happen. Liverpool would get the win at Anfield. You know how good they are at Anfield. Doesn't matter who you are. They just played Real Madrid and just beat them 2-0 at their own crib. Liverpool played great. Manchester City did not play so great. But let's start off with Liverpool. First of all, credit to Liverpool. I mean, I said it already in the last video that if Liverpool, or I've said it before in previous videos, that if Liverpool are to not beat Manchester City today, then they've already given them something to sniff on. They've already given them blood to creep in and try to find, because if you don't beat Manchester City, no matter what, whether it's home or away, you know, you've given them some leverage. You've given them an advantage. So to me, I think Liverpool did an excellent job with the game. The way they played and the way Arne Slot sets up his team is just superb. It really is. It's a remarkable thing to see. I think there are multiple players for Liverpool that have to give themselves some credit. I think Mohamed Salah was excellent. I thought he was absolutely excellent. Of course, involved in every stage of play, the goal, the assist. That's just what he does. He's the best winger in the Premier League. There's no doubt about that. Cody Gakpo, I thought, was brilliant. His movement up top was just excellent, especially the first goal that was scored. Kyle Walker sleeping. I mean, this guy, Kyle Walker, I don't know about him, but he used to be my guy. He used to be one of my favorite defenders of his generation, and I still think he's one of the best of his generation. But I think he's just losing it a little bit. And I think there's some things outside of football that's kind of creeping up on him too. I don't want to get too much into that, but I think just his overall game has not been the same, especially since the World Cup over the summer. I think he has to definitely figure something out. And Pep needs to figure something out with Kyle Walker, because he's the captain of that team at the moment, and he was shocking today. He genuinely was, and that first goal is unacceptable by Kyle Walker's standards. But Cody Gakpo, I thought, was brilliant. Virgil van Dijk proving that he's the best defender in the world alongside William Saliba at Arsenal. I think Virgil van Dijk was brilliant. He's a brick wall. And what he does, Virgil van Dijk, is that he just uses his body so well. What he does, he defends on the side. So it's almost like when he runs sideways when he wants to defend, so that he's able to recover well and to be able to stay balanced and positioned in an optimal way for him to defend. And, you know, there's nothing anybody can really do, because he's just so well rounded, and athletically he's just so built. You can't do anything about his defending and his athleticism. So I think he was absolutely brilliant. And Trent, I thought Connor Bradley was going to start this game, because Connor Bradley had an excellent game against Real Madrid. He was brilliant. But Trent Alexander-Arnold is what unlocked Mohamed Salah today. He completely unlocked Salah. Those passes made over Manchester City's heads today, and the space that was offered for Mo Salah on the wing, there's nothing you can do. All Trent has to do is just play the ball over, and Mo Salah's through on goal. I mean, Mohamed Salah could have had at least like 2-3 goals today. Honestly, he missed a sitter, definitely missed a sitter. He scored the penalty, and he had a few other chances that he could have had. And honestly, I thought Liverpool were just absolutely brilliant. I love how Arne Slot has Luis Diaz playing in the midfield. When I saw him kind of tuck into the midfield against Real Madrid, I thought, wow, now he's even more effective, because he was excellent at the beginning of the season, but now he's tucking into the midfield and he's getting more involved with the ball. And I think it's excellent to see. And Luis Diaz is very underrated in that position. And we shall see more of him in that position further on to the season. So I think what Liverpool is doing right now is excellent. Let's see how long they can hold it up for, because it's going to be a long season. Games are coming up soon. And yeah, I think they were excellent. They need to get their credit. Credit is due. Now, let's talk about Manchester City, the big sleeping giants at the moment right now. First things first, very poor game by Manchester City standards. I don't really understand what to really make of it, because Manchester City just seemed to be so off the gas. And I don't want to hear anything about Rodri. I don't want to hear anything about Kevin De Bruyne, right? The players that they have on the pitch, maybe not today, but the players that they have on the pitch are good enough to win any game, because they've won it 4 times already. Right, they have won it 4 times already. They've won it twice without Erling Haaland. And Pep Guardiola has 6 Premier League titles to his name. You can see that he went like this at the Liverpool fans today, which was hilarious. But when you're 2-0 down and you're doing all that, you know, I guess it was to give something back to the fans when they were singing that he needs to be sacked in the morning. I think that's definitely some retaliation. That's just who he is. He's competitive. But at the end of the day, I mean, there's no denying the way Manchester City played was just so poor. I mean, the way they played was so narrow, and it was so weird to me, especially in possession. Right? They have Gundogan, they have Haaland, they have Foden, they had Nunes, they had somebody else. They had Nunes, Haaland, Kevin De Bruyne, not to start, Foden. Yeah, and I mean, they just had several players out there that just were so ineffective, especially out on the wings. They couldn't do anything. Liverpool were so locked in, especially when they had the ball. As soon as you give them the ball, they know exactly where to defend. They know exactly where to go, and players are moving, shifting front and back all over the pitch. And to me, I think that just gives a lot of credit to the way Liverpool have been and how well-oiled machine they've been over this past season. They're all up for it. They're all ready to defend. They're all ready to attack. They're all ready to play with the ball at their feet in possession. You know, they're just excellent. And Manchester City, this is by far the worst I've seen of Manchester City. This is by far. The way they've been playing in the Champions League, the way they've been playing in the Carabao Cup against Tottenham, the way they've been playing, let alone in the Premier League, should not have them be in the top 4. I'm telling you that right now. The way they've been playing does not deserve them to be in the top 4, because what's been going on with Manchester City is just mind-boggling to me. A few players for City I thought just were so ineffective. They just didn't do anything. For example, I thought Kyle Walker, he actually going forward had a few good moments going forward. That's what I like to see. But man, when I talk about Erling Haaland, I thought Haaland was awful today. He didn't do anything. He was so ineffective. As a striker, this almost fell on my lap. As a striker, you have to be able to make yourself effective. Even if you're playing in a position as a striker and you're instructed to play and move differently, if you're a striker and you're not getting the ball, you need to demand the ball. Whether you need to make those runs forward so you can get the ball through. Erling Haaland has the pace to beat any defender in the world. Or you have to be the type of striker that wants the ball at his feet, cut into the midfield, play kind of as the target man if you'd like to. Maybe even play as a false 9 if you're capable of doing so. And I just don't think Erling Haaland is capable of doing that. And he's not capable of being that sort of striker that wants the ball at his feet. He wants to be in the position, a poacher, to get the ball, put it in the back of the net, have the opportunities created for him. And he's just so brutal at doing it. But when he isn't doing it, he's ineffective. And I think it's a shame, because he could be so much more of what he already is right now. But if your players behind you are not being able to get the ball to you in the first place, if Manchester City can't even have the ball in possession, then there is nothing. There's absolutely nothing that Manchester City can do. And there's nothing that Erling Haaland can do in order to make himself anything effective whatsoever. Liverpool are not stupid. Liverpool aren't any other team to mess around with. They know exactly how Haaland's going to play. They know exactly what Haaland is going to do. So they defend the way they did. And Virgil van Dijk is the absolute mastermind of doing so. I thought Phil Foden was ineffective. I was really surprised that Phil Foden was as ineffective as he is. He's a sharpshooter, and outside of the box, in and around the box, you give him the ball, he's going to score. Bottom right, bottom left, near post every time. He's an absolute sharpshooter. He's like the Klay Thompson of the NBA, honestly. It's like shooting threes with that guy. He's going to score. But he's not the main guy. And Manchester City looked fragile. That's one thing I have to say. They looked fragile today. The physical profiles and the physical presences on the pitch were so fragile and just not there. I mean, you like Rico Lewis, Nunes, Savinho, Foden, right? These guys, they don't have any physical presence about them. They're not like, the Haalands. They're not like the Kyle Walkers. They're not like the Ruben Diaz. They're not like the, maybe even Akanji if you want to throw him in there. Gundogan again, who to me has not really done anything so far for Manchester City in terms of how good he used to be for them and his expectations. They haven't really been able to get anything going with him. And if you watch him really closely, it's almost like he's kind of just wandering around. But for so long, if you play against a team like Liverpool, they're going to make you be a ghost at most points. You're just going to be a ghost in the game. And I think that's what we've been seeing a lot of times with Gundogan this season. And I don't really know where Manchester City go from here in the Prem. They're absolutely a dangerous team. Everybody knows that. But it's not necessarily worrying about Liverpool. It's more about worrying about where Manchester City lead, because I think it's been admitted to them the way their body language was after the game. The fans and the players, clapping each other, just looked like an end of an era. It looked like, honestly, an end of an era of dominance by Manchester City. You see Bernardo Silva, who I thought wasn't that great today. Bernardo Silva. So I just think that when you look at players like Bernardo Silva and Gundogan and Kevin De Bruyne, guys that have been there through the thick and thin, who's been with Pep Guardiola for so many years, and they look like they've admitted their defeat. They've put in the towel already, and the Premier League is not theirs. So we'll see what happens from here. I just think that Liverpool are definitely the favorites right now, but you have to worry about Arsenal Football Club. They're also an elite team, and you have to look at Chelsea as well. I don't think anyone really has Chelsea in the mix right now, but you can't argue that Chelsea and Arsenal have the same amount of points and goal difference and goals scored and goals against, the same amount of stats. But again, you can't really look at it and say that Liverpool are not the favorites, because they're 11 points clear of Manchester City and they're 9 points clear of Arsenal and Chelsea. So we'll see what happens. I'm so excited. Big games coming up. Manchester United against Arsenal. That will be a big one, a big test for both teams. Let's see what happens there. Well, that's all I got for today, guys. It's glad to see you guys again. Glad to watch some Premier League. And now that we're in December, we're going to be seeing it week in, week out, day after day. So let's get into it. I'll see y'all in the next one. Have a blessed one, and catch you.